What's up, everybody? Welcome in. It is Quick Slants, and it will be time for the New England Patriots to figure it out. They opened down in Miami, as you know, and things didn't go perfectly. Additionally, coming out of that game, there were deployment issues, shall we say, on the offensive side. Kendrick Bourne played 2 snaps, caught a 41-yard pass on one of them. And as this week has gone on, I've come to learn that the owner wasn't that psyched about that deployment. He's spending a lot of money on those characters to play football for him. He referenced it in March. We'll get into it a little bit later in the show as to what might happen going forward. But right now, we bring in the great Kay Adams from FanDuel and the Up and Adams Show. What's up, kid?
Hey, yeah, we had a great show this morning. I read your article after on Kendrick Bourne, who I'm officially trying to trade for in a fantasy league if he gets more usage. So I'm excited to hear more about that tonight. And what a week one it was, Tom, especially that last night's game, eh?
Kay, would you have tried a 64-yard field goal on 4th and 5 facing that? Because, I mean, it wasn't a bad call. When you look at how much leg he had, I feel like you don't really agree with me.
You listen, if it was my goal to lose a super meaningful game and my locker room all for the price of one, yes, I would have kicked that field goal, Tommy.
Okay, I definitely am in the minority here. Okay, we have a game plan for today's program.
Yeah.
Okay, we got coming up on the show, Mac's back. We will delve into the situation there. We have the Bourne Ultimatum. Oh, it's over here. I walked in front of it. The Bourne Ultimatum. We'll find out about that. Ask Kay is a portion of the program. Also, trivia and your comments. But first, we have Quick Fire, presented by your local New England Honda dealers.
All right, I need a car out here in LA. So if New England Honda wants to ship one over to Los Angeles, I'm here for it. But let's get into it. You mentioned Mac Jones. He took his hits, of course, and let's hear what he had to say in a little bit. But yeah, or are we starting with lay it out?
Throw that Jones, sound, right? Bro.
Yeah.
Definitely feel better, and yeah, I want to be able to be ready to play against Pittsburgh, and I feel good. But yesterday, just talking with the trainers, just try to get back. Wasn't feeling too hot after the game, but definitely feel a lot better.
Coming off of that hit and the protection issues that he had, I figure this is going to be dogging him all week long. My suspicion is he's one of these guys who's going to play if he can walk. But if you look at the issues that the Patriots had up front, and it wasn't a disaster, but there were free rushers, they are going to have to clean that up. Because if I'm a Mac Jones supporter, agent, parent, friend, or pet, I'm concerned about the kid.
It's true. I will say the defense, I know I talked about the Dolphins, and how do we know they're good? Everyone's talking about the offense. Really impressive defensive performance, of course, with Melvin Ingram. That addition, that was huge. So 1 touchdown on offense, rough. They have the talent, though, which you'll talk about later. And I loved reading in your article, most talented roster since 2016.
Agreed.
You preach patience. Let's get it together. All right. Let's listen to them. Bill Belichick with optimism?
Mm-hmm.
Looking at the game, the 2 big plays really affected the score. 14 points on 2 plays that we gave up, and obviously have to do a much better job on that.
You hear that, and it's not really the same guy who was so bottom line and would find the black cloud in every blue sky that he could seize upon. Now, Bill is looking at a spate of mistakes that the Patriots made offensively in protection, back-to-back, one of which costs the team a sack, and ones that have been being made all the way through the summer, and says, wasn't that big a deal. To me, he's at some point going to have to revert to the guy who chews on posteriors on a regular basis.
It's very strange. It's peculiar. It's uncomfortable for me. It doesn't feel like the Patriot way. And, you and I know very well, Bill Belichick sends messages, not only to the media and to fans, but to his own players when he's at the podium in these things. And it gives me a little concern, or at least curiosity, about the confidence level in that locker room, that Bill is trying to, be a Pollyanna, glass half full kind of guy to clearly try to keep their spirits up, which is an interesting spin zone, bizarro world for the hooded one.
As young as you are, you relate to these younger players, okay? I'm a little bit older. Do they need that gentler hand right now, Kay, as they're trying to transition?
The next generation does. And, if one thing's not working, do the other. But I think to me, it's alarming, an alarming sort of a hyperbolic word here. But what's going on in the locker room that they aren't confident, that he's having to wear the burden of that at a podium, which we all very clearly know unless he went on ayahuasca with Aaron Rodgers, there was not some difference in, who he is inside and his coaching, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move on here because we got to toss my good friend Dan Orlovsky. I'm sure you love him too. And but I don't know. Let's take a listen to what he had to say.
My biggest takeaway from this game is I don't know the last time I saw an organization that is as good as New England look so unprepared for a football game. Offensively, there's no plan. Looks like there's no preparation. They ran 3 different plays, okay? So I run this first play. They ran those things 4 different times. So this play, I ran it 4 times. Then this play, I ran it 4 times. Then this play, I ran it 4 times. All within the first 50 snaps of the game. They ran the same play 3 times in the first 11 offensive snaps. The quarterback has absolutely no answers with protection. He's getting his head beat in because nobody's on the same play. It was in the preseason. Now, I don't know. I'm shocked that the Patriots look this dysfunctional on offense.
This is kind of what we saw in the summer, though. And that's what stunned me is we figured they'd be a little bit better when the season began because they spoke with so much confidence in the 2 weeks leading into the opener. We're getting it right. We're feeling more comfortable. We're feeling like things are going to work. And it worked for a portion of the first drive. But what struck us all more than anything, Kay, was that they just seemed to be running plays. They weren't scheming to create anything. They weren't building anything. It was just, at the end of the day, run plays, see what works, then run another play. With McDaniels, O'Brien, all the great coaches, they're eventually trying to exploit something, find something, and the Patriots aren't really sure whether they have weaknesses from the other side they want to exploit or strengths of their own that they want to enhance. They're a little bit lost.
I do think talent rises and they have it. And I do trust the coaching staff ultimately. So I'm going to do what you did. I mean, Orlovsky saying that, no news to you. You've been saying this all offseason, you and Phil Perry and everyone over at NBC Sports with Boston and New England. I'm following your guidance and I'm preaching patience. Let's wait and see how it looked. You never liked playing in Miami. Week 1 was drunk. Did you see some of the things that happened in week 1 around the NFL? Let's be patient on this. Okay, last but not least, a guy who slams beers on late night shows. Speaking of drinking, I don't know why I just decided that was the appropriate segue for this, but Tom Brady spoke on his Jim Gray Westwood One show, and I liked this bite.
I'm feeling more than things in the past for some reason. I'm just really feeling intensely my emotions. And, I feel like I always have that. But I think when you get, close to the end, and I don't know exactly where I'm at with that, but there's no decision to be made. I know, it's not like I have 10 years left. I definitely don't have that. So all these I just am never going to take for granted.
Okay,
the longest goodbye.
Yeah, let's stick with that drinking metaphor. Tom Brady feels to me like the guy who said he was leaving and then went back into the bar and said, "Hey, I'm back. Give me another one." And he's had 2 sips of his beer and he goes, "I really don't know if I should have stuck around for this last beer." He really strikes me as somebody who feels as if maybe I should already be home and tucked in. So that to me is one of the overriding senses that I'm getting, even though they played pretty well on Sunday night. I did put a poll out today, Kay, regarding the Patriots' performance on Sunday. It's presented by Shaw's. They're perfecting the art of fresh. You probably knew that. It was an inauspicious start for the Patriots offense in Miami. Your feeling, that's the royal you, as fans, currently is better than expected. No, there's only 2% of those. Meh, but an okay start. 26% was as bad as I expected. 50% and worse than I expected. 22%. What are the people saying, Kay?
People are saying all over Twitter, White Shadow, I expected this type of play from New England just because of the history of how bad they played down there in Miami. Still no excuse for how terrible they were, but it's a long season, still riding with the boys. Lauren said, Belichick, I'm a Genius tour will only look worse every week. Over under for mutiny at the Lighthouse, week 4. Oh no, they just replaced that Lighthouse. Harry says, it's worse. The play calling, the offensive line, Kendrick Bourne missing in action. I doubt this gets better anytime soon. And Brad, on the flip side, defense better than expected after reading all the pundits. Your thoughts?
You know what? And that's why some of the pundits, myself included, was pleasantly surprised, Kay, throughout the offseason at how the defense was playing. And I thought they'd be pretty good on Sunday. They were. They got another chance to be good on Sunday against Pittsburgh. But, Kay, overall, what's your sweaty hand level with this?
I'm sorry. I
Are
don't
your
have
hands sweating over this?
I never have. That's your job.
My hands sweat.
I kind of said it before. You got to preach patience. You know, Kendrick Bourne's got to get involved. We've got to get, Devontae Parker. We got to get some of these guys open. Mac Jones was throwing into traffic a lot on Sunday, and it's growing pains. I expect him to be much improved. He has what it takes as a leader, and they spent so much flipping money. So there are expectations. I think a lot of New England fans that I talk to are like, yeah, this is sort of what we expected, and we're not going to win a Super Bowl, and that's just what it is. And there's a very other NFL fan bases are not like this. Chicago, the Bears won, and they think they're winning the Super Bowl, Tom. They think they're straight to Arizona for that Super Bowl party. But there's a very real reality and realistic nature going on within that fan base. And I still can't count Belichick out. I won't. I can't. I love Patricia, the whole nine.
My feeling is people would be much, much, much more accepting of a learning curve and a bridge year for the Patriots if it wasn't if some of the issues that they are facing are self-created. We got more Ask K coming up right now. Do we have? Oh yeah, we do. We have. These are called interstitials. Ask K.
Wow.
Yeah, I hit you with one. Jay Cody, are we really supposed to believe Matt Patricia is a rocket scientist when he repeatedly has that pencil, despite always having a laminated play sheet? Jay Cody has cracked the code.
It is one of the most wild phenomenon of our game. Listen, the last time I used a pencil was on my ACTs a million years ago. Clearly, only a smart rocket scientist knows and is qualified to use a number 2 pencil on a laminated sheet. I'll say this. I just don't like it, as I was thinking about this, when he's cleaned up, Tom. Matt Patricia, without the hat, without the performance gear, it's sort of a startling, uncomfortable sight. When he has the suit and the tie, I like him how he looks on Sunday, and that's how he should stay.
Yeah, it's like seeing your elementary school's teacher at the grocery store.
Totally.
Very, very jarring. All right, here's what Kendrick Bourne did last year. Pretty good player. 70 targets, 55 catches. That's 78% of the balls sent his way. He pulled in 800 yards even, 5 touchdowns, just 2 drops. He even ran for 125, by far the highest amount in his career. Which brings us now, ladies and gentlemen, to my slant. Watch out! This is Robert Kraft speaking to Jeff Howe of The Athletic back in March about Mac Jones improving in year 2. Kraft said, time will tell. Part of it, in fairness, is the chemistry of the people around him. I hope that some of the free agents who we brought in who didn't perform as high as we would have liked last year will produce this year because they've adjusted to the system. And we're making changes to take advantage of what they do best. We have a lot of talent that hasn't been tapped into, in my opinion. Robert Kraft was at the game Sunday. I don't think he saw much tapping. Jonas Smith didn't make a catch until late in the third. Kendrick Bourne didn't make one until the final drive, a 41-yard reception. That was one of the only 2 plays that he was on the field for. My understanding is that Kraft definitely noticed that Bourne was left in mothballs all day. And he noticed what happened when Bourne finally got on the field. I don't know if a Bourne ultimatum has been issued here, but I am very willing to bet that Kendrick Bourne will have a far bigger role going forward. Between Bourne, Smith, and Nelson Agholor, Robert Kraft doled out $90 million in contracts at Bill Belichick's behest. And those guys are taking up almost $30 million in cap space this season, or about $8 million more than the Patriots were willing to spend on Tom Brady a couple years back. Matt Patricia better figure out a way to use these guys. And my understanding is that Bourne being off to the side is a Patricia decision. Bill Belichick will tell you the Patriots don't target anyone, they just throw the open guy. Yeah, all right, fine. Then Patricia either needs to change that MO or scheme some stuff up like Josh McDaniels used to get players like Bourne and Smith delivered the ball. Understand this, the aforementioned contract numbers wouldn't matter if the Patriots were putting up more than 7 points, because that would mean anybody and everybody was contributing. Doesn't matter where you came from. But on Sunday, the Patriots struggled with 7 points. Their second half possessions ended repeatedly with throws into heavy traffic. One to Jacoby Myers on a 3rd and 6, the Hunter Henry fling on a 4th and 3, 28-yard heave on a 4th and 1 to Devontae Parker that got broken up. Patriots got a break on that one, but the point remains. None of those plays felt like inspired designs in gotta-have-it moments. This is the most overall talent the Patriots have had at the skill position since 2016. It doesn't need to look like that. They shouldn't be scoring 1 touchdown, and they definitely shouldn't be mothballing anybody who can help them. All right, So enough on that. We're going to hit you now with some risers and fallers from the previous week. Start off with our first riser. It's going to be Geno Smith. Yeah, you saw it last night. Geno, the former Jets first-round draft pick, goes out to Seattle, beats out Drew Lock, replaces Russell Wilson, and then secures himself a win. A win against Russell Wilson in the season opener. Really impressive performance by him. Efficient, got the job done. Good to see. Next up for my risers, I'm going to hit you with Kyle Duggar. Yeah, I've tried to make the point that Kyle Duggar is a Patriot who will be ticketed for the Pro Bowl at some point. He showed why on Sunday. Made a lot of plays in the running game. He's a dynamic player, a smart player. You can see him diagnosing when to go upfield. We'll have a little bit more on Duggar in a second, though. Final riser, Brian Daboll. No, that's Daboll. I know that. Brian Daboll going big against the Tennessee Titans, and a former player of his, Mike Vrabel. He goes for 2 to close the game against the Tennessee Titans. The New York Giants getting the win column. I also kind of like to see Daboll getting on the sidelines, just getting in the face of Daniel Jones. I don't like people getting yelled at, but you do need to make sure that these guys understand it's going to be a little bit of a, an iron fist sometimes. I got some followers for you, too. But I'm going to first, before I hit TJ Watt, I'm going to mention one follower that we got some news on this afternoon, Ty Montgomery. He's going to IR for a period of time for the Patriots, so they're minus 1 running back. But also TJ Watt, he's got a torn pec. He's certainly not going to play on Sunday against the Patriots. He was dynamic against the Cincinnati Bengals in the opener for the Steelers. So the Patriots dodge a bullet with no TJ Watt. Another follower for you? Oh, it's like deja vu, deja vu. It's Kyle Duggar again. Look, if you're a safety, and Kyle Duggar is all that, you have to be safe. And what happened at the end of the first half when he let Jalen Waddle get even with him and then passed him because he did not play back, that's a real bad play. And I have full confidence that while there's a little Polamalu in the run game efforts by Kyle Duggar, he's going to take some of that Polamalu out in the pass game where he just runs wherever he is inclined to. Okay, my last faller is the guy down in New York who's collecting all the receipts, and he's ready to show them when he gets on a roll. It's this guy. It's Bobby Saleh. Are you sure you're going to be collecting receipts? Look, if I saw you face-to-face, I don't know if I'd go face-to-face like this with you, but I don't have a lot of confidence that you're going to be able to right the ship to the point where you're getting a whole thing of whip out with all the points that you're trying to make. Robert Saleh, you got a significant uphill climb with the Jets. We have a trivia question for you, ladies and gentlemen, before we get to the final block. You're going to like this one. The Patriots lead the all-time series against Sunday's opponent, the Steelers, 17-16. What was the series record pre-Brady? All right, we got trivia question. The Patriots lead the all-time series against Pittsburgh, 17-16. The Patriots have gone the Steelers were 12-5 before Brady showed up. So he made an impact. Speaking of the Steelers, here's Mark Kaboly from The Athletic previewing Sunday's matchup. There has to be a real opportunity here for the Steelers to, especially with Brian Flores involved, exploit some of the problems the Patriots are having in their transition.
Yeah, you would think so, because the one thing that did play extremely well Sunday was the defense and the pressure, and that's not with Watt doing a whole ton. It was more on the other side with Alex Highsmith, and they're bringing a lot of different type of pressure. So I'm sure they're going to try to exploit the Patriots, I guess, not revamp, but maneuver the offensive line around a little bit to try to create pressure. But, once again, people in Pittsburgh are always cautious when it comes to the Patriots because it's always Bill Belichick. They don't see Bill Belichick as a team that's rebuilding. They always just say Bill Belichick always messes with Mike Tomlin's mind, always out-coaches him. This is just going to be another opportunity for him to do that. But I can tell you one thing, Tom, watching a little bit of the Steelers and the Patriots, I think we're going to look at first 1 to 7 wins the game.
Brian Flores, part of the coaching staff down there. How involved is he, and what's his defined role?
He's considered a linebacker coach. He helps a lot with the inside linebackers. But what he really is Mike Tomlin's right-hand man. I mean, he's a guy that's obviously been there, done that, should be still doing that at a higher level than he is as a special assistant to the what defense or whatever his title is right now. So, you got 3 very smart defensive guys, and Tomlin, the D coordinator, new to this year, Terrell Austin and Brian Flores, getting together every Tuesday, like right now, putting together a game plan. And you saw a lot of different wrinkles, what they did against the Bengals, and be able to confuse. If you watched that Bengals game, Joe Burrow was just throwing the receivers like throwing the defensive backs like they were receivers. He was so confused. So I think that's a huge hire for the Steelers back in February, March. That's probably going a little bit under the wire. Not to the fact that he's going to help on the field a ton, which he has, but just the schematics of everything. And I think that goes without saying that it was a huge hire, and it's already paying dividends. I mean, the defense was unbelievable the other day, and you would have to believe that a lot of that was scheming and game planning that probably partly came from Brian Flores.
Yeah, there's no denying the Patriots defense actually, ironically, after Matt Patricia left as a head coach and Flores became their defensive coordinator, first de facto and then named defensive coordinator, was a real pain in the ass to deal with in 2018. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is your Mark Kaboly. We're going to have so much more intel going forward on the Steelers.